Hey everybody, we should be live. If you'll give me an audio video check, I'm not using my typical streaming setup, so hopefully the mic that I'm using today will work just fine. Chewy, welcome. Supreme Gecko, glad to have you here. Hey Pam. What happened? Aquaballs, hello. I'm not sure what happened. Do you have audio and video? Okay, well hopefully that will work. I'm using the mic off of the webcam instead of my studio mic. I'll just try and talk louder and toward the microphone, and hopefully that will be okay for the purpose of this. No, Aquaballs, he was going to do an hour over there, and then he was going to join me over here. But I'm not going to rush Father Fish. We'll let him finish up what he's doing. Okay, tell you what, while we're waiting, I'll go grab my other studio mic and try and get it hooked up real quick. Bear with me. Okay, that should clean up the audio just a little bit. Okay, good deal. Yeah, that's actually one of the mics that I use in my streaming setup typically versus the webcam mic. So that should hopefully pick up. Let me step over here where I'm going to be working at. Should pick up just fine from here. I'll just talk a little bit louder and we should be good to go. But this is the tank that we're going to be dirting and planting. It is a 20-gallon long. And if anybody sees Father Fish pop in here, just let me know. All right, good deal. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the mic on the webcam. I was hoping it was going to be suitable for today, but this will work easily enough. I just have to make sure not to knock this mic in the water and we'll be all right. So my dirt is mostly thawed out for those of you that were in Father Fish's stream. I heard me talking about that. It was a little frozen. Well, it was a lot frozen. But I think we'll be okay. Yeah. Still a good bit frozen. But I think it'll work. Hey, Frank White, HC Aqua, Big J's, I appreciate y'all showing up. Jesse said it's quiet in here. Yeah, I was trying to switch mics over. Though this is going to be a fun mess today. It actually thawed surprisingly quickly. I didn't really expect the dirt to thaw as fast as it did. Looks like Father Fish is still going over on his. This may turn into a setting up a dirted tank without Father Fish. No, I'm just kidding. We'll wait on him. Let him do what he needs to do. I would recommend, though, if you're going to do this, have a towel handy, just to kind of clean up the mess a little bit as you go. Rounded Rob, hey, how are you? Rockford Fish Keeping, Frank White, glad to have y'all in here. I hope everybody is doing well today. So I ran up to Lowe's because my dirt was frozen. I had it in a bucket on the porch from a previous dirted tank, and all of their bags of organic soil were frozen. I was hoping since they hadn't come out of water, they wouldn't be frozen, but we're just going to work with what we've got. And of course, it's thawing by the minute. So by the time Father Fish gets over here, we should be in good shape. And then I've got my sand and I've got some plants as well. And I haven't actually decided on the stocking for this one. Probably shrimp and a pair of plecos. I did just get a pair of blue-eyed lemon bristlenose plecos, so that might be what I put in here when we get it set up and ready for them. Oh yeah, I've got, I can't move the camera too much. I actually have it nailed to the wall because it was fun trying to get set up. This is actually in my hallway. Let me see if I can do this. We'll give you a little hallway tour while we're waiting. So this rack actually has 620 longs on it, and it is in my hallway. But it leaves me plenty of room to still utilize the hallway, and I can get other tanks through. I can actually fit 125 through here, no problem. So we've got a trio of bristlenose plecos in this one, and then just some random plants in my duckweed collection. Now I've got a fairly good bit of Java moss going in that one. Some other plants going. That's got a pair of bristlenose and then 3 sets of babies in there currently with them. And then I've got a ton of guppy grass in this tank right here, and it's just cherry shrimp in that one. Lots and lots of cherry shrimp and guppy grass. That's actually from the grass I got from Chattanooga Ed. He brought me a gallon Ziploc bag of it up, and I have enough to pack probably a 75-gallon tank as full as that. And then in the bottom, I just have, I think there's a jaguar cichlid in there, and then one of the self-cloning crayfish that I got from Susan at SLC Aquatics. And that tank is just holding some convicts. I actually keep, oddly enough, I keep extra convicts. Sorry, apparently there's an amber alert. Let me clear that real quick. There we go. Nope, haven't seen it. I keep extra convicts just when I have tanks that I don't have anything in them. I'll throw a convict in there just to help keep the tank cycled. So right now I've got a bunch down in the bottom, and then the filter that was in the tank that's empty right there is tossed down in that bottom tank. I think Father Fish is still going. Let me check. Let me send him a message real quick. Rockford, I hadn't really thought of that. Rockford Fish Keeping says that Frank White, I like duckweed, keeps jumping fish from jumping. That's a good point. Yeah, I've got duckweed in a lot of my tanks. There are a couple tanks that I specifically keep it out of, but I do put it in a lot of my tanks just to help absorb nitrates. The Aquarium Cowboy, hello and welcome, says I have duckweed in all but one of my tanks, and I like it fine. Seems to be the only plant I can keep alive. Hey, you got to start somewhere, right? Rounded Rob said, Amber Alert, look out for a man trying to thaw out dirt. Yeah, that's me. But I think it's coming along nicely. I've got to clean some off of the walls and floors where I splashed it around trying to break it up, but I think we'll be in good shape. Hey, Fish Tropic, welcome, glad to have you. So I guess while we're waiting, hold on just a second. I can show you the rest of the hallway as it were at the moment. So this is actually, I've got to rebuild this stand. This stand came with the tank that I got. But I'm going to have two 29s and a 20-gallon long racked up pretty tall here, and then it's going to slide over. There's my dirt cleanup towel. Then I've got that tank, which is the same footprint as a 29, but it's a little bit taller. And that's got one of my breeding pairs of angelfish, and then my other breeding pair of angelfish is down in there. And I have the boxes on to try and help keep them from getting spooked and eating the eggs, because they've eaten every batch so far. They're getting a little bit better, and the fry are getting a little bit further along. And there's my mess, my pumps and cords and things. But I'm hoping that they will start raising their own soon. I could pull them, but I just don't want to get into the extra work of doing that. All right, so I guess what we're going to go ahead and do is we're just going to get started. Father is still going on his channel. So I'm just going to start adding dirt in while we are waiting. See if I can do this without being in the way of the camera, without throwing it everywhere. I will say this dirt actually does have some gravel in it. When I cleared it out of the tank that I did have dirted, I did go through and pick out all the gravel. So it does have a mix of gravel in there as well. But I figure if nothing else, that'll just help sort the dirt out and give more space for the roots to go around. Oh, looks like Father Fish just ended his. Let me drop the link in the chat for Father Fish. I'm going to have to move my mic, though, because it's going to be sitting right on my speakers when he joins. So, Let me do this real quick. Let's see if we can't rig this audio up here. Of course, I'm getting dirt all over my mic, but I think that'll be okay. Hey, Roxana, Jovi, Sister Lockmo, Jan, the Fish House, hello and welcome. All right. I think I can rig this mic up this way. I was really hoping that the other mic would have worked, but that's okay. We'll improvise. Even if it's pointed down. All right. All right. That should work for the mic now. Let's see. Let me drop this link for Father Fish again. Oh, I forgot I had my thought. All right. There's for Father Fish. Hey, Redfish, Bluefish, welcome. Glad to have you here. Sam Dam, hello. I don't know. I'm waiting for Father Fish. He'll be here momentarily, I'm sure. Let's give him a moment to maybe use the restroom and grab a drink and whatever he may need to do before he comes in. All right. So while we are waiting for Father, I'm going to go back to throwing some dirt in this tank just to get us started. Since I had only intended on going for an hour on this, just to make it an easy rewatch. Sam Dean, my name is James, also known as Fish Room Fever. I got, Sam Dean asked for an intro. I've got roughly 40 aquariums set up, do weekly live streams, DIY, how-tos, all sorts of fun stuff. I appreciate you coming in, not knowing who I am, so thank you. Aqua balls, I did not find the iron. I looked around, I even asked a couple employees, and they were like, what? So that was a no-go. So I had to get back here to get ready for the stream. So maybe on the next one we'll get the iron. Still waiting for Father. Aha, there's Father Fish. I was about to say, I can text him if I don't see him soon. Hey, Father Fish, welcome to the stream, sir.
There's Father Fish.
Okay. I need to figure out where.
So I went ahead and started throwing some dirt in here while we were letting you get settled and come on in. Figured save time. So I wanted to ask you, I don't foresee it being an issue, but I do have some gravel mixed into this from my previous planted setup.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem at all.
All right, good deal. I didn't figure it would, but I wanted to clarify with you, you being the expert, and clarify it for the audience. So we want to go for about, what, 4 inches of dirt in here? Is that correct?
No, not that much. 2 inches is plenty.
2 inches? Okay.
Have I got an echo? Am I okay now?
I think it's gone now. I heard it at first, but I think you've got
Yeah, I'm getting an echo. I don't know how to get rid of it.
If you got the YouTube page,
I'm hearing it.
You can mute the YouTube page. Hey, Crystal, welcome. Glad to have you here.
So I need to use the YouTube page. Okay. So I need to use the YouTube page. Okay. All right. The only issue now is, am I going to be 10 seconds behind? So I need to use the YouTube page. Okay.
If you're on the StreamYard page, you should be good.
The only issue now is,
all right, if you've got YouTube open and you want to close YouTube and just stay on the StreamYard page, you should be good to go. If you're on the StreamYard page, you should be good.
The only issue now is,
all right, if you've got YouTube open and you want to close YouTube and just stay on the StreamYard page, you should. I think you got it. All right, so you said we want to go for about 2 inches of dirt.
Okay, I'm on the screen.
I think you got it. All right, so you said we want to go for about 2 inches of dirt?
Yeah, no more than.
Okay.
Okay, I'm on this. Crap, I'm... yeah, no more than.
And just for the record, for the viewers that might be watching this after the fact or that don't already know, organic, of course, correct?
I can't figure out how to do this. I'm getting an echo.
Do you have YouTube and StreamYard open?
No, I've got the YouTube. Yeah, I've got them both open. Yes.
All right, kill the YouTube and just stick with me on the StreamYard, and you should be in business.
Okay, I've got YouTube closed.
Okay. We shouldn't get any echo now. Sorry, I know I'm blocking the camera. I'm trying to get to my computer here.
I'm still getting an echo.
I wonder. Let me try something.
wonder. Let me try something.
Okay, can you hear me, Father?
Yeah,
Okay. I switched off. Some people were saying that the my webcam mic was a little soft, so I switched to a different mic, and it may have been too good of a
it's not
mic.
helping. No, it makes it worse. That made it worse.
Okay, I'll go back to the original mic. Tell you what, if you want to leave, and I'll drop the link, and you can rejoin, maybe that will resolve it. I'm not sure why you're getting the echo if we don't have the other pages open.
Okay, let me try that.
Sorry, guys, I will be out of the way in just a moment. Let me switch back to this one.
Now that we know that that was not the issue. Redfish, Bluefish, have a great day. Don't work too hard. I appreciate you swinging by. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure why. It's the same setup as usual in terms of StreamYard. All right, I've got you back. Hopefully that deals with the echo issue.
I don't think it has. I got to, wait a minute. I think I did it. No. StreamYard. I think I'm there.
All right, good deal.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, alrighty. So just to recap, you said about no more than 2 inches, and we do want to use organic dirt or organic soil. For those of you that are watching this,
Yeah, what do you have in your soil? What did you get?
honestly, I don't remember the brand it was. This is what I already had that I've been thawing out. It is an organic, and it does have some gravel from the last time I had it set up.
So it's like a compost.
Essentially, yes.
That's great. That's fine.
I think I'm just about there on the dirt. Now, if you were purchasing, we'll say new dirt, and it was not already wet, you would want to go ahead and add water and turn it into a mud, correct?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay, so we've just
But you've
essentially
achieved the same thing,
got
and you're leveling it. So I think the gravel is probably going to help you level it. And you've got it pretty deep. That looks like 2 to 3 inches.
good deal. Yeah, it should be about
It's
about two.
probably, well, it's a 20-gallon tank, so it's a fairly shallow tank.
Correct.
And you're going to need to put 2 inches of sand on top of that.
Gotcha.
So you're probably too deep. You're going to wind up with a 12-inch tank having 4+ inches of substrate in it. Now, I do that, and I do it routinely. You
Well,
may
that's
not
what-
like the look of it.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask because I know at one point, and I know you made it in jest because most people wouldn't follow it, but at one point you were like, "Well, if you've got a foot tall tank, fill it halfway with dirt and sand, and
Yeah, exactly.
see
Right.
this."
Well, that's right. The reality is the more the better. You cannot have too deep a substrate.
All right, so I'm going
But
to go.
but it is as much an aesthetic issue after 3 inches or so as it is a biological issue. So at this point, you need to make a decision as to whether you want the tank to be 1/3 substrate or 1/4 substrate, because it's going to be one or the other.
Well, I figure we'll probably end up right about there with sand capped on it.
Yeah, that's almost half.
So I am okay with that. I don't mind a bit. This is probably just going to have shrimp and maybe a pair of plecos in it, bristlenose.
Well, that'll be ideal then.
So
Yeah.
I'm good with that. So I'm going to go ahead and cap it with some sand. Now, do you have a good method for keeping the sand from mixing with the mud as little as possible, or just kind of be gentle with it?
At this level, just pour it in
Gotcha.
or dump it in, whatever. It's not going to disturb the dirt right now. The problem will come when you add water to it. So if you want to pick up that bucket and just dump the whole thing in there and level it out, that'll work just fine.
Alrighty. Yeah, and I'm sadly limited to how much space I have
Oh, I see.
because this is
Got
actually
it.
on a
Oh,
rack.
yeah. Right. You need a funnel or something.
Yeah. And my sand seems to be ever so slightly frozen as well. I didn't really think about it until earlier, and I was like, you know what? It has been, really cold for about a week.
Yeah, good that you looked at that. Let's see. I'm going to look at some of the comments here. If I can read them.
Absolutely.
You know what I need to do? If I can get back on my other computer, I can look at that without getting a feedback, I think.
Now, I know you've also talked about people worrying about trying to make it sterile. So none of this has been rinsed in tap water or anything of that nature. That's actually rainwater that's in that dirt.
Yeah, I never try to achieve sterility. In fact, I'd rather take the reverse position. I try to allow as much dirt as is around to get into the system because that's normal. I mean, any body of water has washed into it whatever dirt is in its environment.
All right, I'm going to step off to the side and thaw some more sand out. Won't take me but a second, and that'll give you a chance to get to the chat, as you could mention.
All right, yeah, I'm trying to get it. I've been messing around with passwords for 2 days, and I'm just getting flat out frustrated with it. I've had to change my password every single day because every password I put in somehow gets lost. So now I'm at a point where every time I want to sign on, I have to create a new password. It's just frustrating me no end. And here we are again. I can't get on my other computer without a password, and it does not recognize any of my old passwords. Verify it's me. Yeah, right. Enter your password. Oh, dear God. Doesn't like it. Doesn't like it. I'm at my 4th password. None of them. Honest to God. Am I doing something weird? I mean, what's going on here? Save your password. I did save it. I saved it and brought it up, and it didn't recognize it.
You said it's kicking out your password?
It's kicking out my password. And, I've changed my password every single time I've gone online for the past 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
Every time. And it's doing it again. I got to change my. I'm at a point where I don't even know what to use as a password anymore.
I can understand that. We have to
Making me
take
totally nuts.
and
All right.
after 6 years of not repeating a password, I've kind of lost my mind.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I even came up with a whole new password structure so I could deal with this, and now that's bombed. All right, let me try something different. It's ringing my phone. And my phone is dead.
Sorry about Nightbot, guys. I picked up Nightbot the other day in preparation for the giveaway at 1,000 subscribers, and I need to just go and delete him off the mod list until we do that live stream. Which, not that I have anybody in here that isn't, but if there's anybody that doesn't know Fatherfish and isn't subscribed, go ahead and check him out and subscribe to him. He's right there pushing towards 1,000. Oh. Go.
All right, I'm just going to try to read this. Huh. Well, oh, here, let me get my. There. Doesn't work.
And Jesse H. Aqua says 4 unrelated words that you can remember is a good password.
Kicking out my password, right? I tried cursing, but I can't remember that. Funk at Fish Tropic. 4 unrelated words that I can remember. The problem is it doesn't matter, because whatever it is, it ain't going to work the next time I try to get on.
And that's crazy that it's doing that. I wonder why it's doing that.
I don't even know. I've got an old Windows 7 system here, and it throws everything out. Every time I leave a site, a password site, it drops it doesn't remember the password. That's only just started happening. I'm going to probably wind up just getting rid of it and getting a new Windows 10 system.
Yeah, that should definitely fix your issue.
Okay, so you're adding sand.
Yes, sir.
That's a good thing. Now, one of the things that sometimes happens is when you're adding the sand and you put the water in, you can have dirt start showing up in the tank, in the water. That happens because there's essentially a hole in the sand. There's a gap or a little mound or something that's allowing the dirt to work its way up through the sand. It can also occur from a soft spot in the dirt. and the sand simply going into that soft spot. So just the issue is if you start, once you're in there, if you start seeing dirt, look around for a place where it's coming up through the sand and add a little more sand to that
Okay.
spot.
That makes sense. All right.
Windows 7, yeah, I know. It's exactly right, Fish Tropic. I need to,
Nice frozen
I
chunk
don't
of
know.
sand right
I
there.
need to, I had some computer geek convince me that it was the right thing to use as an office computer, the Windows 7.
There we
And
go.
I've been, how you doing there?
May have broken my bucket a little bit.
Looks like you need a little more.
Yeah, let me deal with this bucket
Oh
that's going
dear.
all over the floor.
Oh dear. Montemorillonite as a substrate. Montemorillonite. I don't know what that. Oh, it's an additive. Oh yeah. Anything that's going to add carbonates, and that will add carbonates.
All right.
You're right. It didn't say Vista. Right. Yeah. How would I treat for parasites so as not to harm the bacteria? There are a few things that when I hit rock bottom and have to use a chemical, I do it gingerly. The one thing I've found works is triple sulfa. And if I use that in pretty small doses, it'll do a good job on the bacteria, on whatever, like it'll do a good job on the bacteria without ruining the substrate. The benefit of having the sand covering the substrate is that it slows down the water flow into the substrate. So even if you use a harsher chemical, it's not going to hit that substrate right away, which gives you a chance after it's done its deed in the water column to be able to do water changes and reduce the excuse me reduce the incidence of the chemicals, such as to prevent it from getting down into the dirt. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's simply a way of trying to control chemicals getting into the substrate.
Now, would this be the time to plant it prior to filling it, or I know it's going to be, it is going to get cloudy because I do have where some of the water came up from the
What do
dirt.
you got a rock in there?
That is some frozen sand.
Oh, I see.
My plan.
Well, okay. I'll tell you what. Pour the water over that frozen sand. Let it thaw
That's
it.
exactly what my plan was. Yes, sir.
That'll work. You want the most important thing is to keep from stirring that sand up, because you don't want to get the dirt loose in the water column. The whole principle here is to use that sand to separate the deep substrate, the soil, from the water. And that needs to be essentially a semi-permeable shield that water will be able to go through slowly to percolate through without the dirt percolating up and out. It's going to come up a certain amount anyway. That's why 2 inches, because it'll come up an inch, but it should not come up 2 inches. And if it does, you add a little more sand because you want to keep the soil from getting into the water column.
I am going to have to add some more sand. I'll have to buy some because about half of my 5-gallon bucket was.
Yeah, I noticed that.
We'll just say the kids got a hold of it.
Ah, I noticed that.
There you go. There's a pro tip. Thaw you a 2-inch round piece of sand and put it in there for when you fill your tank.
Not bad, not bad. Never done that.
So I'm just trying to gently move some sand over where I was lacking a bit.
Aquatic Nest is saying you can't comment on my live streams. If you go down to the bottom of the page, just scroll down through all of the suggested videos. At the bottom of that is a comment section where you can add comments. You cannot add comments to the stream comments, but you can go down below that to the bottom of the page in order to be able to add comments. And those will then show up on my little alert bell. So I'll know you've posted there.
All right, so now
Plastic bag. Yeah, plastic bag is perfect. Plastic bag, a plate, even a towel. Anything to keep from stirring it up. Yeah, you're pretty cloudy, aren't you?
I am. Well, and that's what I was saying. There was a lot of water in that dirt, so it kept pushing. Once I got to the end of getting it capped, it was kind of pushing out on top.
Yeah, one of the things you can do, you kind of got a jump on me, is put the dirt in with a net.
Gotcha.
That removes the water, the loose water, if you will.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, I was debating on filling it up and draining it out, or if you think we could just fill it and let it settle.
It'll settle. What kind of filter are you going to use?
I'm just going to put a sponge filter in it.
That'll be perfect.
There won't be any substrate agitation.
Yeah, it'll be perfect.
All right.
That'll pull it out. It'll be clear by tomorrow.
I've got my plastic bag, so I'm going to go turn the water back on real quick.
I'm backing up looking at previous comments. How would you treat for parasites? We did that. We sort of did that. It's tricky, and you got to be really careful because what you don't want to do is kill your substrate. So I try as much as possible to treat homeopathically, but when you can't do it, I had columnara recently infect my big blackwater system. And it got away from me because the fish that were infected by it were all hiding in the back of the tank where I couldn't see them. And I didn't notice it until a whole bunch of them showed up dead. Then I could see what was happening. Tried for a day or so to clear it, could not. Wound up putting a sulfathiazole in the water. That cleared it up, and I was able then to do a water change a day later, and it stopped the disease, and I don't think it damaged the substrate.
So we're making progress, but I would assume the trick here is to just take it nice and slow and not rush the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything fish says Father Fish is gravel better than I think. Indubitably, gravel must be better than I think because I think the worst thing that ever happened to the tropical fish hobby was gravel. But it's got to be better than that. I believe there really is an open question still between the deep substrate and the plenum or the under gravel filter. Now, under gravel filter is not precisely a plenum, but in a lot of ways it is. As it gets older and more aged, it really becomes a plenum because whole sections of it clog up and the water flows in channels through that gravel to get down into the bottom of the under gravel filter, and it does create a plenum. And plenums set up properly will control nitrates. Actually, probably more effectively than a deep substrate will control nitrates. What it will not do is it will not break down organics in such a way as to make them available to the roots of plants nearly as effectively as a sand-based deep substrate. So there you have it. You can go either way with this. It really depends on what you're trying to achieve in your tank. I'm committed to a deep substrate. Not everyone who knows the way around keeping aquariums is, because they do have a system. And some of my best friends are among those who have a system using plenums that works very effectively for them. So there's that. That's my little talk on gravel. And I'm going to back up here. Let's see. Let's go forward. We did this. Everything Fish says, Nevea, you're also new to me, so I subscribe. Let's be friends. Absolutely. I subscribe to everybody who subscribes to me if their subscription name is open. Not everybody is. Probably a third of the people or more who have subscribed to me, for whatever reason, their names never show up or their channel never shows up. I never figured out how to do that, but that's okay. Can't comment on your live streams. I think I covered that. Show some love, Chewy says. I think I hit bottom here.
So yeah, there is a way that you can hide your subscriptions. So like where when I subscribe to people, it doesn't show that I've subscribed to them. And it's
Really?
not so that they don't see it, but that's that way. You know, case in point, I do watch some political stuff on YouTube, and it hides what I like to watch. That way, people don't go in and look at what I'm watching and go, "Oh, well, he's this, or this is his religious belief, or this is his political ideology," and it just kind of keeps that part of my YouTube enjoyment separate from my channel, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't post likes on my channel. I know exactly what you mean.
The last thing I want to do is deter somebody from being a part of the fish fam or the community because I maybe have a different point of view on something not fish related. So I keep all that hidden.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm in agreement with you. Unfortunately, we're living in a time when we're a deeply divided people, and I think what we're doing here on Fish Fam is going a long way toward overcoming that division,
I
and
agree with you.
I very much appreciate that.
Well, and we're glad to have you. And I love this community. It's amazing. My goal is to try and get. There are so many people out in the real world that are in the hobby that have no clue that the online support, the fish fam exists. So I'm trying to bring more
Yeah,
of that
exactly.
into the fish fam, if you will.
Yeah, you're doing a heroic job of that. I keep thinking about trying to find ways to reach a wider non-fish audience. I haven't really come up with a way to do it. I don't want to do another channel. I know you're doing a number of different channels.
I'm going to go turn my water off real quick, and I'll be right back.
It looks great. Let's see where we're at here. Oh, that's interesting, Frank. I had one dislike on my earlier stream. Shame we can't find who
Right.
that is. Well, maybe I don't want to know.
All right, so I'm going to get the python out of here without stirring up the sand.
Fish Tropic says they need to branch out. Yeah, I know. I do. And I feel the need to do it. I don't know the best way to do that. I mean, there's some other completely extraneous things I could do, but I don't want to do them as a separate channel. I want to build this channel.
I understand. That's kind of what led me into doing like the YouTube tutorials and how-to stuff and
Right.
because there were a lot of people in the fish fam that were interested in it. So I could also bring in some people that weren't interested in fish but were interested in YouTube and get them in the community also.
Right.
All right. So I guess would now be the time to add plants, or should I let this run with a filter for a day or so first?
No, go ahead and put your plants in.
All right.
Do hardscape. Are you going to do any hardscape? Driftwood or rock or anything?
I do have a piece I can throw in here.
You could do that now, and also do your plants. You want to do hardscape before you do plants. It just works better that way.
I honestly hadn't planned to do any hardscape, but since you brought it up and we're kind of doing a tutorial beginner guide thing, we might as well.
Yeah. Fish Tropic is saying there are more community than just aquarium ones. I know there are. That's right. What my concern is, how do I post to those other communities on my current channel? I can separate, obviously, by list. I can have a dog list or a bird list or something like that. Does that achieve the same thing? I don't know.
Yeah, well, and that's what I need to go back through and kind of, I was looking at that yesterday, kind of separate out my playlists and whatnot, and that should help a little bit. Let me grab some plants real quick.
That's going to be nice. It looks like I'm seeing a shadow under the white sand that looks yellow. Yeah, Fish Tropic, I think you're right. I just need to get around and look more at what other people are doing and find ways to plug into that conversation. Zen, hi. Appreciate your promoting the Patreon account. I'm going to be doing unique videos for Patreon that will be of interest, I think, um, both to fish fan people and beyond. That looks really nice.
We've got,
Oh, gorgeous. What is that's what is that?
I have no clue. I am by no means a plant expert. I can grow them like crazy, but I'm
Is
it's
that
actually
growing in that's growing in soil?
yes. These are all.
Okay.
Oh Lord, I can't think of the term. Yeah, they're all rooted and they're all getting their nutrients from the substrate.
Yeah, they look great. Nice looking plants. Pull that driftwood further forward.
What's that, sir?
Pull the driftwood further forward. Bring it up closer to the front. The driftwood, the piece of wood, yeah. It's kind of hidden back there. And center it a little more. Yeah, good. That's good. Now you can plant around it. Put your taller plants in back of it and lower plants in front.
I need to grab some carpeting plants out of somewhere, some lower plants, because all of these are a little bit taller.
Yeah, you want them toward the back of the tank,
Absolutely.
midway and back. Well, somebody's talking on Instagram here. That's something I've not looked at all. I have an Instagram account, but I don't have any sense of. Here's the problem, folks. I didn't grow up on this stuff, and I find it overwhelming because they don't. Well, I've got 70 years experience with tropical fish. I've only been at this computer thing since about 1980. It's only been 40 years. And I'm like a lot of people, I only know what I know because I only do what I do. I'm not adventuresome online. I tend to do the same things over and over. I mean, it took me 10 years to get onto YouTube.
Well, we are glad that you're on here.
And that's after being told to do it 10 years or more ago. What else do I know about? Comic books. All right, fish tropics. You're throwing the gauntlet down. Here's the thing.
So I think I'm going to put the sponge in this back left corner. So that's
Perfect.
why I'm kind of avoiding that area with the plants.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I am going
And
to.
then block it with a big plant.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm going to take
Put a
this
big
marker
plant right in front of it. Yep,
stick it
that'll
there.
be perfect. So go ahead and put your sponge filter in if you got it ready.
Yeah, let me do that.
I'm going to get back to Fish Tropic here because he's talking to me on the day. Here's the thing, Fish Tropic. I have spent 25, 30, since I was 25. How old am I? 40 years plus. As a religious professional, if you will. Studying and immersing myself in not just theology, but personal spiritual growth. Now, I don't want to be putting all of that on my Fish Fab channel. I also am a very politically biased person. I have very strong political beliefs. I don't want to be putting that on my Fish Fam channel.
Absolutely.
So if I'm going to get into the things I care about the most, I've got to create another channel. And I really don't want to do that. So there's my struggle. I'm going to work it out. And I'll tell you why. Because those of you who have not had a chance to look at the video entitled Return to Eden on my channel, please do so. It will give you probably the best insight that you can get from me about where I'm coming from and what I'm really all about. That was an extremely carefully worded piece that I struggled with for a long time before I made it. But I'm very happy with it. So listen to it, see what you think, and give me your feedback. That, I think, is a way that I can reach a broader audience without slapping people upside the head.
Well, sometimes you gotta slap people upside the head.
I know, I know. Oh, well.
So what I've been doing is once I get these pushed in, which I am using the, I guess you would call them aquascaping tongs or
I
whatever,
love it, right?
just kind of taking the tongs and pushing the sand around all the stems to try and avoid any of the leaking areas like you mentioned. Would that be the...
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Now, you probably are going to want to add another half-inch of sand to this whole thing as soon as you
Absolutely.
can. It's a little shallow. When I look at this, I see what looks to be a yellow line under about an inch of sand. What is that? Is it a shadow?
I think that's just the way that it's... I think what's happened is where the dirtier water from the sand has kind of come up into
Okay.
the sand a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's see if I can...
Yeah. That's exactly what that is. Which means if you had an inch less sand, all of that yellow would be up in your water column.
Absolutely. Very good point. So yeah, I definitely do want to get some more sand. I had 50 pounds of sand going into this, and then once I cleaned out the sand that the kids had gotten a hold of and what was left in the bucket, this is where I ended up.
Yeah, Chewy said that's a cryptocrene you're putting in there. It's a beautiful plant. I'm sure that's what it is. Pearlweed. You know, I've never used pearlweed. Net funny.
And then I think, let me see if I can snaffle one from up here. It's not in use. Try to keep the duckweed in the top tank because I don't want duckweed in this particular tank.
Really?
There we go.
Roxanne is talking about black diamond blasting sand. I like it, but I find it's a distraction for certain kinds of fish that will lay on it and darken up and become virtually invisible.
That's a very good point. Figure I'll go ahead and throw the pleco cave in there.
You bet. HC Aqua doesn't want to be a grandpa. Well, poor baby. Roxanne says, I come here to get away from politics. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I do too, truthfully. It's kind of a joy not to have to deal with the craziness. Grandpa Jesse.
All right, I'm going to get a hand towel real quick and wipe the front of this off. I could probably steal some other plants from some other tanks. Actually, I know I could. Let me go grab another plant or two real quick, and I'll be right back.
Yeah. Duckweed. You like duckweed. Fish Tropic likes duckweed. I battle with duckweed occasionally. I have systems I can't get it out of. I'll tell you what I found works most effectively, though. If you buy a small wet vac, the little, like 2 gallon size, how would I do? The little wet vac, you can get every single duckweed leaf out of there if you're careful. And that's what you have to do if you want to get rid of it. Either get something that eats it or get rid of every single leaf. Pond and Moore, go home now. Who are you talking to? What time is it? Don't know. My phone went dead a while back there.
So this
Aqua use a lot of pearlweed. That's why I say father fish, there's other communities. Reptiles, comedy source. Yeah. Yeah, I've been on the reptile. I find that really problematic.
So I think I can actually propagate this out and split it into about 4 or 5 different plants.
It's a beautiful crypt. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, this is from my my mutt guppy tank.
Yeah, great plant.
It's a heavily planted to the point that you can't see 3 inches in it when I haven't
Nice.
trimmed it. And these guys have just done surprisingly well in there. But that's one that it's a gravel substrate, but I don't ever gravel back it.
Right. Jovi can use a top cover with duckweed, or does it need to be uncovered? I don't think it cares. Here's the thing about duckweed. A single duckweed leaf, it's like ick. Not quite as bad, but it's like ick. A single duckweed leaf in one day will become 2 duckweed leaves. In 2 days will become 4 duckweed leaves. In 3 days will become 8 duckweed leaves. In 5 days will become 16. Now that's not so bad. But when you get up to like the second week, you're in the thousands. And
Yes.
it's doubling every day. Duckweed madness. It doesn't take long for it to take over.
Well, and I like it for some of my, especially in my bare bottom tanks, like on my rack of quarantine tanks and project tanks. I like it in there to help with nitrate absorption.
Yep. Yeah, Aquaball is saying he really likes grip. I do too. It's such a pretty plant. Nevea saying if you want a floater, why not use water lettuce? Water lettuce is nice. It's illegal in Florida. It's an invasive species, just like water hyacinth. And we're not. As a fish shop, I'm not allowed to sell it or even have it on the premises.
Well, that's interesting. I did not know that.
I like it, but I can't have it.
All right. So here's what I ended up with. I've got that one,
Oh, pretty.
and then I've
Really
got
pretty plant. Where are you going to put it?
a little baby there.
Nice. Nice.
That one there. Sorry, I know the lighting's not great in this hallway. It's not really meant for
So
filming.
what do you have in mind there? How do you want to plant them?
Well, I was thinking about coming across the front with some of the smaller ones. I know that they can get tall, but they grow so slowly.
They do grow
generally.
slowly. Yeah.
So I was thinking take the largest one to the back right corner,
Yeah.
kind of behind the Pleco cave.
Right.
and then come in with a medium-sized one. Probably pull that one plant and stick it right back in there.
I wouldn't come that far over. Just keep them kind of localized
You think
to
keep them
each
all the
other.
way back, right?
No, but you can bring the little ones out more, but don't go past like a third of the way to your left. A bit like 8-10 inches to your left, so that they're in uh, like a um, like a grove kind of area.
I
And
like that.
upon they do better if they're close to each other. Yeah, now I see you're doing something I like to do. You're balling up the roots.
Gotcha. So yeah,
And I
so
think
what I
that's
did,
real. Yeah, it's really important to do that to be able to get all of those roots down in there. It's only the tiniest filaments on the root that actually are able to take anything up. So you want to try to keep it all down there under the sand. It just makes it easier to plant.
yes, absolutely. And then it also avoids you from trying to fight putting 20, 30 little roots.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, I did have it balled. Let me get it
Yeah, I
balled back
saw you
up.
did. And then you released it to show what you had done. I sometimes will wrap it in a ball right around the stem.
I have done that before as well,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that looks good. Don't put it all the way back. You want it to be able to open up fully.
I've got it about, and it's hard to tell from where the camera's at, but it's about right there is where the roots are going in, about 3.5, 4 inches out.
Yeah, okay.
Problem is that I've got some other plants there, which I of course don't want to pull.
No, bring it out in front of them. Chewy says goldfish love duckweed, and they certainly do.
Oh yes, absolutely. All right.
So I use a lead band on some plants. With a deep sand bed, it's rare that you need to weigh down a plant because you can get it down in there a couple of inches. Uh, the only things I've had to do that with are large Amazon swords that just want to float. But I usually will kind of put a rock on top of the root base or lean something up against it once I get it in there just to hold it in place. Kind of pinch it down with rock. You can use weights. Certainly nothing wrong with it.
So what I did do was, and I know this is not recommended, but the reason I did it is because that's the root structure. It's next to nothing. I went ahead and pulled these out, and I got these specifically because they were really, really dead looking. I mean, they're not dead, but they don't look good. These particular stems aren't doing well, and that's why I brought them into the tank.
Yeah, I think the soil's going to pull roots out. Pond and more, I only used gravel and they all came up floating. That's exactly right. It's not only is it difficult to plant plants in gravel, but it's difficult for plants to feed in gravel because they need to be able to be in an anaerobic environment. The roots of plants will actually create an anaerobic environment around themselves in order to break down waste and absorb it. But if you help them out by putting them in a deep substrate, it not only holds them down, but it provides, that's nice, it provides the nutrient level that they need. Quays replant the tank. Duckweed cell in. The Lagunandra red lobster tanks. Yeah, they do. I use a lot of hornwort. Hornwort and anacris.
Like this one has hardly any roots to it, so I'm going to do just like you mentioned and kind of wrap it around the base of the stem.
Yeah.
Because they really won't fold up easily, if you will. They just want to.
And then get it down in there pretty good.
Absolutely. Well, and I guess for anybody that hasn't used aquascaping tongs, and again, I've said this in many videos, I'm no aquascaper, but the trick that I've found is when you release the plant, don't go wide open with the tongs. Just let off as little as you have to and slide your tongs out. That way you're not spreading it full open and kicking everything away from the roots, and then it just floats
Yeah,
back.
you want that sand to be able to settle in there. The tongs are wonderful. I mean, before that, I would hold the plant with my index finger over the stem and pull it across the sand and go deep, so that when I released it, I was able to use this finger to cover it with sand. It just really kind of complicated, but the tongs make it so much easier.
And it almost gives you like a backdraft of sand or substrate, if you will, to work with when you do it that way.
Yeah, right. Chewy Zen doesn't like hornwort. Oh God, that's awful. Yeah, when a plant like hornwort disintegrates, it's just a hellacious mess.
All right, I'm going to get this last one planted, and then I'll pull the camera off and see if I can't get you a better view of what we've got. And again, Father Fish, I appreciate you coming on today. This has been
it's been fun doing it.
Yeah, I'm loving this. Getting to have a tank that's almost created by Father Fish, if you will. All right, let me grab something to wipe this off. That water's a little bit colder than I would like it to be, but of course the plants aren't going to mind that too much. But it's creating.
Yeah, plants will mind it all. Yeah. Fish tropic looks at himself as an infection to his fish. Well, I guess I have nothing to say about that fish tropic. I have a friend who does saltwater fish. He has a big saltwater farm, raises lots and lots of very fancy, very expensive coral. And if you go into his fish room and put your finger in his water, he will throw you out of his fish room. And he's the most gentle, easygoing, friendly, sweet guy you've ever want to meet. But man, don't get near his water. Now, having said that, he's got his hands in his tanks all the time. But he knows what's on his hands. And he doesn't know what's on yours. So there's that.
I've actually got a piece of glass to go over this, which is what my computer's sitting on at the moment on top of another tank. But for the time being, I'm going to set that plexi there to help keep the bubbles from bursting out and help with condensation.
It'll keep the heat in too, yeah.
So
that's great. Looks good. I like it. I like your light. Got an LED.
This camera doesn't go in the water, but
yeah, you can leave that light on 24/7 for about a month,
and
and it will bring the whole thing to life.
Oh, very nice. Well, see, and this is I did have this tank. The tank that was here was like really grown out with plants. I actually just drained it, pulled it, and set it in the floor because I didn't have time to move everything out of it, and then threw an empty tank in today to work with. But there's the tank next to it that's on the same light.
Oh yeah, that horn. What is that?
That's guppy grass, and then I've got some other
Okay,
rhino
right.
plants in there.
Oh
That's
yeah.
actually just a cherry shrimp tank and used for propagating guppy grass.
So you're gonna do shrimp and a pleco. What kind of pleco?
Well, I just got a set of blue-eyed lemon plecos, a pair.
Ooh, ooh,
Yeah,
nice.
so I'm thinking
Nice.
they'll go in there well.
What are they gonna do to the plants? Do you know?
I've not had the blue-eyed before, but I really haven't had issues. I've got 15 or 16 adult bristlenose throughout the house, and I've not had issues with them in the plants. But I also keep them fed to the point that they don't go seeking out the plants as a form of nutrition. So I don't foresee them giving me any problems. That's not going to work. I was trying to get you another angle on this, but I'm going to mount this back on the
Is
nail.
that air bubbles on the side? What
That
is
is
that?
that is air bubbles. Let me see if I can do anything about that. There's my mess right there. Try and do this gently without messing with the substrate.
There's Pond and More and Fish Tropic both take a very strong position on putting one's hands in the water in the tank.
I do it all the time. I've not had any issues myself. I'm not saying there's no validity to them or to that, but I mean, I go in my tanks all the time. That being said, I
I tell you,
don't.
I get right wrothy when somebody comes in the shop and sticks their hands in the tank.
Now, if somebody else does it, absolutely don't put your hands in my tanks. No, that's a no-no.
Yeah, yeah,
That's like grabbing another man's woman. You just don't walk up and put your hands where they don't belong.
that's right.
But in terms of my hands, well, and that's what even my kids, even my 6-year-old, knows that. Like they wash their hands really, really well. But if they've used like hand soap or anything like that, within the past several hours, they know not to put their hands in the tank.
Yeah,
They know that their hands are quote unquote too clean to go in the tank. So, yeah, no, I am very much mindful about where my hands and my arms have been and how long it's been since I've put any type of body wash or anything on. But a lot of people probably are not. In one case in point is I actually had a product that I would put on my tattoos on a daily basis that since I got back into aquariums, I don't use anymore just for the simple fact of putting my arms in tanks.
Yep.
So yeah, I can completely agree. Don't ever put your hands in somebody else's tanks. And if you're going to put them in your own, just be mindful of, any products you may have on it. If you've recently put on deodorant, there's a possibility you got some on your finger or something. Of course, body washes and things like that, hand soaps, hand sanitizers. Just give your hands and arms a really good rinse. The only time I've ever really worried about my hand going in a tank was when I did salt water and, had issues like bristleworms or things like that. I would wear the long gloves, but that was more for protection of my hands and messing with like palithoas and other corals.
Well, that's exactly right. The friend I was just talking about wound up with a severe reaction to the point where he could no longer put his hands in the saltwater tanks.
Oh, wow.
From the pallies and the bristles.
All right.
Looks great. I like it.
Well, thank you, Father Fish. I appreciate you helping set up. Since I've shown everybody my mess already, I've had a couple people ask me, not necessarily today, but ask me about air pumps. If you're not going to do linear air pumps, I really like these top fin 4-ports.
Yeah, I've got some of those. They are nice.
I run my entire rack of it's 16 10-gallon tanks. I run it off of 2 of those. I could probably run it off of 1, but I like having the extra extra oomph. Not sponsored by Top Fin. I just really like these pumps. I've actually got 2 that run the entire hallway, which is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tanks, soon to be 11. So
The tank that you have as background, what is that?
this one over here,
With the black and white sand? You have a background picture. It's a photograph, I guess.
oh yeah, that is. I'm not sure exactly what substrate it is. It is a black and white sand. I actually got that when I first got back into the hobby last year. There was a lady that was getting out of the hobby for medical reasons, and that's actually where the majority of my plants came from, because I'd tried plants before and did horrible with them. So she had a 40-gallon breeder, amongst other things, that had that substrate and a whole bunch of plants. And I've since been able to kind of propagate my plants throughout the entire house from that original setup. And I've purchased some other things and some Amazon swords and stuff. But like these right here, or this one right here, I think is the 9th or 10th one that I've propagated off the original one.
Nice.
So, and I'm not a plant guy. I couldn't even tell you what it is. But that's really what got me into it. I had spent money on plants before and just didn't really have luck with them. And I think part of it was a lighting issue. But I mean, I hate to even say that, because I use LED shop lights and grow wonderfully. So I don't, maybe it was my water where I was before.
Yeah.
But I really like this. I'm looking forward to seeing how it grows out. And I will keep you updated on it, because I'm really liking this. I am going to wait to put the plecos in because this water temperature is not right for them. Normally I would set my temp before I fill it, but since I didn't have anything going in right away, I just kind of filled it by touch, so to speak. So I'm going to let this come up to room temperature, and then I'll move the albino bristlenose in. And I haven't decided if I want to do orange shrimp or black shrimp. I'm thinking orange shrimp. I've got some, and I've got black, or I could just do cherry shrimp. I've got tons and tons of cherry shrimp.
Yeah, it's always best to try to keep it monoculture with the shrimp.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Yeah, trying to see. Yeah. I was going to see if I could pull them out, but I don't know that you'll be able to see them on this camera. But I've got some really, really dark cherry shrimp.
Huh.
Yeah, we'll just leave them there. Oh, that puts us at an hour and a half. I appreciate you coming on. I don't want to keep you all day long. I love this. So thank you again. This is, I'm really
Well,
glad.
it was great fun for me. I enjoyed doing it. That's a lot of fun.
So I'm gonna get some more sand. You think maybe an inch more ought to do it?
Yeah, an inch more.
Okay. I'll pick some up later today when I go out. Oh, and this is the one thing that I do dislike about the really porous sponge filters, is now this guy's trying to float where I've moved him over.
I use the porous ones. I use the fine. I don't think it matters a whole lot. That's probably part of the reason, is that the fine ones, they absorb more water, and they tend to be heavier in the water.
They do. So do you have any other advice for this setup? Or do we have, let's see, I guess we could take a vote on
More plants. More plants.
More plants. Well, I know that it's
yeah, keep planting it.
okay. I mean, I've got some more. I know from watching yours that it's gonna like grow up extremely full and quick. But I could go snag some more plants. I've got plants
No,
all
you
over.
not necessarily right away, but as you move along, just keep adding plants. Like let it ride for a week and see what it looks like in a week.
If I really wanted it to get full, I could grab some jungle val.
Yeah, that grows like weeds, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got it everywhere. But yeah, so I guess I showed everybody before you came in, but this is the setup that, oh, there's that nail I put in the wall. Ow.
Oh dear.
Where we've got it going is it's 3 sets of 220 longs, so it's 620 longs on that rack there. So I think, and this is my hallway actually. But I like it, and I like it being in the middle there versus at the top or bottom. I think that's a good spot for it, and I know that particular light on that rack does really well. And what I'll probably end up doing, I have to build another rack. This is going to be, I've got 229s there, but I'm actually going to have 229s and a 20 long on the same rack, 3 tall, and I'll probably do all 3 of those dirted. So I'm eventually going to end up with the whole hallway being dirted. This was kind of the first step, was getting one done, and now I have an extra 20 long, which is, this one was empty before the show. The one that I pulled out, I'll move everything out of it and then kind of transition one at a time into dirted tanks.
Yeah, you have to try it and see how you work with it. I mean,
Yeah,
most people enjoy it and it works fine. There's some people who just can't do it, either because they're in their tank too much and are stirring it up, or putting the wrong kinds of fish in it, or whatever.
I've done both of those things before myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for example, I never do dirted tanks with any Central American cichlids because they're all diggers.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was one of my mistakes that I did. It wasn't actually dirted, but I did it with sand. And God, that was horrible. So I'm trying to do dirted tanks the right way this go around, which is one of the reasons I reached out to you, besides the fact that I enjoy talking to you and I enjoy your content, was that it was a good opportunity to be able to get hands-on with you, so to speak. So this class is free, but anybody else that wants to do this with Father Fish is just charging a nominal fee, right?
Well, it used to be, but then I found people were getting rich on my content, so yeah.
I had to throw it out there.
Yeah, right. Oh dear. My
Yeah.
goal is to make money at this, but
Oh,
it's not.
absolutely.
I'm not doing it based on monetization. I'm doing it based on being able to market my store's products
Right.
online, because I think that's really where I have something that a lot of the fish fam will appreciate.
Oh yeah, and that's why I try and tell people you're not going to make money on YouTube necessarily, but you can use YouTube to make money. As funny as that sounds,
Right.
Use it as a tool. Don't use it as thinking it's going to be your primary source of income. I'm going to grab a box real quick because somebody asked about my top fin pump in the chat. I think it's the 8000 model, but let me double check that.
Oh, natural aquariums. 82-degree water will not slow down plant growth. There are other issues at stake. I try to keep all of my tanks at 82. If anything, it'll increase plant growth. But there may be, and likely are, other issues. The fish house says, the more plants, the merrier. I could not agree more. Absolutely. When you get so many plants in your tank, that you can't see more than an inch or two into it. Just add a little bit more and you'll be good.
Absolutely. And that's the look I'm going for, but I want to give this an opportunity to kind of grow into that. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let me see if I can get this lined up. But it's the Top Fin. No, you're not going to be able to. Top Fin 8000, the Aquarium Cowboy. It's about $30 locally to me. It's got 4 ports, and I was looking for something as an alternative to the Walmart air pumps for reasons I won't go into. But I found these at PetSmart, I think it is. Yeah, PetSmart. Right at $30, and you can run, you could technically run 16-gallon tanks or 16 10-gallon tanks off of one if you wanted to. But they're kind of a stepping point in between air pumps everywhere and getting a central air pump, which is my next plan.
Yeah, I've got a big half horsepower blower. I run about 300 tanks on it.
That's awesome. That was going to be something I was upgrading to hopefully in the next couple of months, but with going to the big fish deal, I think that's going to put that on hold for a little while. So,
Well, the fish house is asking about Alanacaras in Atlantic aquariums. It's an interesting question, and I think really a very helpful one. Most of my African cichlids, my Malawi cichlids, are in planted aquariums. Now, they're not lightly planted, they're heavily planted with large plants, like big Amazon swords that are deep in the substrate. So I tend in those tanks to have 5 to 6 inches of substrate, very little soil, mostly just sand, because they are rooters, but they're not diggers the way a Central American cichlid is. They're not going to pick up the mountain and move it to the other side of the tank. They will dig a pit. And it won't be a particularly deep pit. And it won't really disturb the substrate. So yeah, you can do Africans, you can do Malawis in deep substrate without any real difficulty, and have plants in there. They'll generally do well, unless they eat the plants, of course. All of these Africans are primarily algae eaters, so you need to be sensitive to that.
The fish house, I agree completely. When it's heavily planted, it makes it more enjoyable trying to find your fish in there.
Oh yeah, my shop is like that. Many of my tanks are heavily planted, and people will come in. They've kind of gotten used to the idea of coming in and going on a nature hunt and spending time. The average hobbyist, a serious hobbyist, never spends less than an hour looking around in all the tanks, because there's so many things to find that are hiding behind the plants and the rocks and so forth. It just makes it an experience of discovery.
Well,
And a lot of them are reading, so you get more behavior.
And I'm the guy in the fish store with the little pocket pin flashlight looking in the tanks, trying to see.
Oh, I love it. Right, right. Yeah. Absolutely. That's what these glasses are for.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, I think we got to the bottom. I know I missed a lot of stuff. My apologies to you all. I couldn't really look at the chat while I was doing
I've been backing it up and trying to catch most everything.
And I appreciate that. I heard you taking care of that, and you're of course more knowledgeable on this stuff than I am. So
That's a lot of fun. Well. I very much appreciate everything you're doing. It's I think you're a real boon to the hobby. It's something that really means a lot to me personally. You've been able to give me confidence where I needed it.
Well, and I not just value your opinion, but I look up to you. I mean, you've been in the hobby so many years, and you've seen all the trends kind of come through and go away and come back, and you know enough to know what to look through as marketing and what's actually legitimate and is useful to the hobby.
Yeah, I bite my tongue a lot around here.
Right.
May not seem like it, but I do. Thank you so much.
I
Nice
thank
to
you.
meet with you all.
Absolutely. We're going to leave it at that. That's an hour and 45 minutes. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful day. Again, if you haven't checked out Father Fish, go subscribe to him. Link is in the chat. Until next time, thank you, everybody. And again, thank you, Father Fish.
Thank you. Bye now.